First contact incident. The vast emptiness of space shattered as the HSS Intrepid emerged from hyperspace, its sleek obsidian hull reflecting the distant stars like a polished mirror. Warning signals blared across a dozen alien monitoring stations. The unthinkable had happened. A human warship had penetrated the sacred boundary of the Galactic Confederation's protected zone. Captain Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the Intrepid, her posture rigid as she surveyed the holographic display showing a rapidly growing constellation of alien vessels converging on her position. Her crew worked with quiet efficiency, the tension palpable but controlled. "Captain, we're being hailed on all frequencies," Lieutenant Rodriguez reported from the communications station. "They're demanding immediate surrender and withdrawal. Threat assessment indicates weapons systems activating on multiple vessels." Chen nodded, her calm demeanor belying the gravity of their situation. "Open a channel, Lieutenant. Wide broadcast." The view screen flickered to life, revealing the stern-faced alien with iridescent scales and compound eyes. High Commander Zex Terrell of the Confederation Defense Fleet regarded the human captain with unconcealed disdain. "Human vessel, you have violated sovereign Confederation space. This act constitutes an intergalactic incident of the highest order. Power down your weapons and prepare to be boarded, or face immediate destruction." Captain Chen squared her shoulders. "High Commander, I am Captain Sarah Chen of the Human Systems ship Intrepid. Our presence here is not an act of aggression, but one of necessity. We request diplomatic parley under Article 7 of the Rim Treaties." The alien's compound eyes narrowed. "Humans are not signatories to the Rim Treaties. Your invocation holds no weight here." "Perhaps not officially," Chen conceded, "but the principles of peaceful resolution should transcend political boundaries. We have information vital to the security of both our civilizations." The standoff lasted for tense minutes, neither side willing to back down. The Intrepid's sensors detected targeting locks from multiple Confederation vessels. "Sir," the tactical officer whispered, "we're outgunned 15-1. Chen never took her eyes off the alien commander. "Then it's a good thing we're not here to fight." After what seemed like an eternity, High Commander Zex Terrell responded. "You have one planetary rotation to present your case before the Emergency Council. Until then, you will be escorted to holding position. Any deviation, any activation of weapons systems, will be met with immediate response." The transmission ended abruptly. Chen turned to her XO. "Commander Okafor, prepare the diplomatic package and send word to Admiral Washington. We've made first contact." The journey to the Confederation hub world of Saltyrix Prime was tense. The Intrepid sailed through space, surrounded by a flotilla of alien warships, their weapons systems humming with barely restrained energy. Inside the human vessel, preparations were underway for what would undoubtedly be the most significant diplomatic engagement in humanity's brief interstellar history. Dr. Eliza Cortez, the ship's xenoanthropologist, frantically reviewed the limited data they had on Confederation customs and protocols. "We know so little about them," she muttered to the captain. "Their society is built on collective consensus, but individual prestige still matters enormously. It's a delicate balance." Captain Chen nodded, studying the holographic representation of the Confederation Council chambers. "Focus on their communication patterns. I need to know when they're posturing and when they're making genuine threats." Meanwhile, in the engineering section, Chief Engineer Takashi worked tirelessly to ensure the ship's systems were operating at peak efficiency. "The Confederation sensors will be scanning us constantly," he told his team. "Every fluctuation, every power surge will be noted and analyzed. We need to be an open book, but one that doesn't reveal our full capabilities." As the Intrepid approached Saltyrix Prime, the crew marveled at the alien world. Massive orbital structures surrounded the planet, their designs defying human architectural logic. The planet itself shimmered with city lights that formed intricate patterns across its surface. "It's beautiful," whispered Lieutenant Rodriguez. "And ancient," added Dr. Cortez. "Their civilization has existed for over 50,000 years. We're infants compared to them." The Intrepid was directed to a holding orbit, and Captain Chen, along with a small delegation, was escorted to the planetary surface. The shuttle journey was silent, the human delegates acutely aware of the armed Confederation guards watching their every move. The council chamber was a vast amphitheater carved from a single enormous crystal. Representatives from 24 species filled the tiered seating, their murmurs rising and falling like waves as the humans entered. At the center, a raised dais held the High Council, 7 beings of different species who collectively governed the Confederation. High Counselor Vex Moria, an ancient entity with translucent skin through which complex biological structures could be seen pulsing, called the session to order. We gather today to address an unprecedented breach of our sovereign territory. The counselor began, voice resonating with artificial amplification. For the first time in 8 centuries, a military vessel has entered Confederation space uninvited and unprovoked. Captain Chen stood resolute as accusations flew. The council members described humans as volatile, unpredictable, dangerously aggressive, a species that had accelerated from primitive planetary warfare to interstellar travel in a fraction of the time taken by civilized races. When finally permitted to speak, Chen approached the central podium. Esteemed counselors, I come before you not as a conqueror or invader, but as a messenger. 3 solar cycles ago, our deep space monitoring stations detected unusual energy signatures at the edge of the void expanse. She activated a holographic display showing sensor readings. These patterns match exactly with historical records of the Harbinger swarm that nearly destroyed this region 5 millennia ago. The chamber erupted in chaos. The Harbinger swarm was not merely a historical footnote to these beings. It was an ancestral trauma, a wound in their collective memory. High Counselor Vex Moria raised a limb for silence. These claims are extraordinary, Captain. What evidence supports your assertion? Chen nodded to Dr. Cortez, who stepped forward with a data crystal. This contains all our sensor readings, comparison analysis, and predictive models. We believe the swarm has been dormant, not extinct, gathering strength in the darkness between galaxies. And you violated our territory to deliver this warning, asked another counselor skeptically. We attempted conventional diplomatic channels, Chen replied firmly. Our messages were ignored or discarded. The threat is imminent. We estimated less than 30 planetary cycles before the vanguard reaches populated systems. Even if this is true, countered Zex Terrell, what concern is it of yours? The predicted path would not threaten human space for centuries. Chen's eyes hardened. Because we are neighbors in this galaxy, whether you recognize us or not. Because my people do not stand idle while others face extinction. Because humanity understands all too well what it means to fight against overwhelming odds. Her words hung in the air, and for a moment, the contempt in the alien's expressions shifted to something else. Uncertainty, perhaps even the faintest glimmer of respect. The council withdrew to deliberate, leaving the human delegation under guard. Hours passed in tense silence before they were summoned back to the chamber. High Counselor Vex Moria addressed them with renewed gravity. Our analysts have confirmed your findings, Captain Chen. The patterns indeed match historical records of the Harbinger swarm. A murmur rippled through the chamber. The Confederation acknowledges your initiative in bringing this matter to our attention. The Joint Scientific Commission will be established to monitor the situation. However, the counselor's voice hardened. This does not constitute formal recognition of humanity as an equal power, nor does it establish diplomatic relations. Chen nodded, understanding the significance of even this small concession. We ask only for the opportunity to work together against a common threat. As the human delegation prepared to depart, High Commander Zex Terrell approached Chen privately. Your species acts in ways we find difficult to comprehend, Captain. You risked war to deliver a warning to those who have shown you nothing but contempt. Chen met the alien's compound gaze steadily. That's who we are, Commander. We may be young, we may be impulsive by your standards, but we understand that the stars don't care about our differences. Out there, in the void, we either stand together or fall alone. As the Intrepid departed Confederation space, escorted to the border by a significantly smaller contingent of warships, Captain Chen recorded her log entry. First contact with the Galactic Confederation has been established. While formal diplomatic relations remain elusive, we have opened a door that has been closed to humanity since we reached for the stars. The threat of the Harbinger swarm is real and growing, but perhaps in this darkness, we have found the first fragile thread of understanding between our civilizations. Little did she know that the thread would soon be tested by fire, as the vanguard of the swarm arrived much earlier than anyone had predicted. The Alliance Forge. 3 weeks after the Intrepid's departure from Confederation space, the first attack came. Not a probing assault or scouting force, but a full-scale invasion that overwhelmed the outer defense grid of the Xeridian system in less than 12 hours. The Harbinger swarm had returned, and it was far stronger than anyone had anticipated. Captain Chen was reviewing tactical simulations when the emergency transmission arrived, heavily encrypted and bearing the personal signature of High Commander Xterral. Captain Chen, the Harbinger has broken through our outer rim defenses. The alien commander's voice was strained but controlled. Your predictions were correct, but your time frame was optimistic. We are facing overwhelming force. Chen immediately ordered the Intrepid to battle stations. Are you requesting assistance, Commander? There was a long pause, filled only with static and distant sounds of alert klaxons. The High Council has not authorized a formal request for aid. However, as Fleet Commander, I am exercising emergency protocols to share tactical data with all potential allies. We are transmitting our defense grid configurations and enemy movement patterns now. The unspoken request was clear. Chen turned to her XO. Commander Okafor, set course for the Xeridian system. Maximum sustainable FTL. Alert Admiral Washington that we're responding to a potential extinction-level event. Captain, Okafor hesitated. That would violate our explicit orders not to re-enter Confederation space without formal invitation. Chen's expression was grim. Sometimes, Commander, we must choose between following orders and doing what's right. I'll accept full responsibility for this decision. The Intrepid tore through space toward the battle, while Chen gathered her senior officers. We're heading into a war zone where we're not officially welcome, to fight an enemy we barely understand, alongside allies who don't trust us. I need options that will keep us alive long enough to make a difference. Chief Engineer Takashi spoke first. Captain, the experimental shield modulation system might give us an edge. It's designed to adapt to energy weapons faster than conventional systems. The risk? Chen asked. Catastrophic shield failure if the modulators can't keep up with the attack patterns. We'd be defenseless. Dr. Cortez added, from historical records, the Harbinger uses a hive mind tactical system. They learn and adapt collectively, but this creates a vulnerability. A tactical breakthrough against one unit can potentially be exploited against all of them. Chen nodded. Lieutenant Quan, work with Dr. Cortez to analyze the Confederation tactical data, find patterns, weaknesses, anything we can exploit. Lieutenant Rodriguez, prepare a tight beam communication packet for any Confederation vessels we encounter. Make it clear we're here to assist, not to claim territory. As the Intrepid approached the Xeridian system, the devastation became apparent. The once mighty defense platforms were shattered husks, drifting lifelessly. Confederation warships fought desperately against biomechanical monstrosities that seemed to absorb conventional weapons fire with minimal damage. Analysis, Lieutenant Quan, Chen demanded, watching the tactical display with growing concern. The swarm appears to be using some form of adaptive shielding that becomes resistant to specific energy frequencies after exposure, Quan reported. Confederation vessels are cycling through weapon configurations, but the swarm adapts faster than they can change tactics. Chen turned to Takashi. Can we use that against them? If they're adapting to specific frequencies, the engineer's eyes widened with understanding. We could create a cascading resonance pattern, make them adapt to one frequency, then hit them with its harmonic opposite. Their shields would be trying to optimize for contradictory parameters. "Make it happen," Chen ordered, then turned to the communications officer. "Hail the Confederation flagship." High Commander Zex Terrell's face appeared on screen. Behind him, his bridge was sparking with damaged systems. "Captain Chen, your presence here is unexpected. We received your tactical data package, Commander. We interpreted it as a request for assistance." The alien commander's compound eyes blinked rapidly. "The Council has not authorized." "With respect, Commander," Chen interrupted, "I don't see the Council on your bridge. I see a warrior fighting to protect their people. We're here to help, politics be damned." After a moment of silence, Zex Terrell nodded. "What do you propose, Captain?" "We've analyzed the swarm's adaptation patterns. We believe we can create a vulnerability in their defensive systems, but we'll need your fleet to coordinate with us precisely." As Chen outlined the plan, skepticism on the alien commander's face gradually gave way to cautious hope. The human strategy was unorthodox, seemingly reckless, but contained a certain brilliance that could not be denied. The Intrepid moved into position, its experimental shield modulators reconfigured to generate the complex resonance patterns that Takeshi and his team had designed. Confederation ships formed a precise geometric formation around the human vessel, their weapons systems synchronized with the Intrepid's tactical computer. "All ships report ready, Captain," Rodriguez announced. Chen took a deep breath. "Begin the sequence." The Intrepid fired first, its modified weapons creating a specific energy pattern that the swarm quickly adapted to. Seconds later, Confederation vessels fired in sequence, each using a frequency precisely calculated to disrupt the swarm's adaptive process. The effect was immediate and dramatic. Where before the alien weapons had barely scratched the Harbinger vessels, now they tore through suddenly vulnerable shields. "It's working," Quan exclaimed. Swarm vessels showing shield failures across the board. But the victory was short-lived. The hive mind recognized the threat and changed tactics, sending smaller, faster attack craft directly toward the Intrepid, recognizing it as the linchpin of the defense. "Incoming," shouted the tactical officer. Multiple hostile craft on collision course. Chen gripped her command chair. "Hold formation. Maintain the resonance pattern." The Intrepid shuddered under the impact as the first wave of attackers crashed against its shields. The experimental modulators strained to compensate, power fluctuations rippling through the ship's systems. "Shields at 62% and falling," reported Takashi, his hands flying over his console. "The modulators are overheating." Chen watched as Confederation ships continued to press the advantage, destroying Harbinger vessels now vulnerable to their attacks. "We need to hold on just a little longer. Divert emergency power to the modulators." The ship lurched violently as a Harbinger vessel broke through the defensive screen and rammed the Intrepid's port side. "Hull breach, decks 4 through 7. Okafor shouted over the blaring alarms. "Emergency containment active." Chen made a split-second decision. "Prepare for emergency jump maneuver Theta 9. "Captain," Rodriguez protested, "that would take us directly through the Harbinger formation." "Exactly," Chen confirmed. "They're focusing on us because we're the key to their defeat. Let's use that against them. All available power to forward shields and engines. We're going to punch right through their center mass." The Intrepid's engines roared to life, driving the ship directly toward the heart of the swarm formation. On the Confederation flagship, High Commander Zex Terrell watched in disbelief. "What are they doing?" he demanded. "They'll be torn apart." His tactical officer stared at the readings. "Sir, they're creating a wake in the swarm's formation. Their shields are generating the resonance pattern at maximum intensity." Zex Terrell understood instantly. "All vessels, concentrate fire along the human ship's trajectory. Don't let a single Harbinger unit survive in that corridor." The Intrepid tore through the enemy formation like a spear, its shields blazing with energy as they projected the disruptive resonance pattern at point-blank range. Where the human ship passed, Harbinger vessels faltered, their defenses momentarily crippled, And into this vulnerability, the Confederation fleet poured devastating firepower. Inside the Intrepid, systems failed across the board as the ship absorbed punishment beyond its design specifications. Captain Chen stood amidst the chaos, calling out orders, refusing to yield even as her vessel blowed air and power. "Resonance pattern at maximum intensity," Takashi shouted over the din. "Modulators critical. We can't maintain this much longer." "We don't need much longer," Chen responded, watching as the tactical display showed the Harbinger formation collapsing into disarray. "Just a little more." With a final surge, the Intrepid burst through the far side of the swarm formation, trailing debris and venting plasma. Behind them, Confederation ships methodically destroyed the now vulnerable enemy vessels, their coordinated attacks ruthlessly efficient. The bridge was dark, lit only by emergency lighting and the glow of a few functioning consoles. "Damage report," Chen called out, wiping blood from a cut on her forehead. Okafor managed a grim smile. "Easier to list what's still working, Captain. Life support, emergency power, and sublight engines at minimal capacity. But we're alive." "And the swarm?" "Breaking apart, Captain," Rodriguez reported with amazement. "Confederation forces are mopping up the stragglers." We did it." Hours later, after emergency repairs had restored basic functionality to the Intrepid, a Confederation shuttle docked with the human vessel. High Commander Zex Terrell himself came aboard, accompanied by a small honor guard. Captain Chen met them in the damaged docking bay, still wearing her scorched uniform. "High Commander," she greeted, standing as straight as her injured ribs would allow. "Welcome aboard the Intrepid. I apologize for our current state." Zex Terrell regarded her with an unreadable expression. "You violated our territorial sovereignty." "Again." "I did," Chen acknowledged without hesitation. "You interfered in a military engagement without formal authorization." "Also true." "You risked your ship and crew on a tactical gambit that our military theorists would have considered suicidal." Chen smiled faintly. "That's something of a human specialty." To the surprise of everyone present, Zex Terrell made a gesture that his species reserved for only the highest form of respect. A slow, deliberate lowering of his upper body, compound eyes never leaving Chen's face. "The Confederation owes you a debt, Captain Sarah Chen. Your actions today have saved countless lives." Chen shook her head. "We did what anyone would do when their neighbor's house is burning. We brought water to the fire." "Perhaps," the alien commander replied. "But not everyone would run into the burning building to save those trapped inside. The High Council has reconsidered humanity's status. A formal diplomatic delegation is being prepared. It seems our differences are not as vast as we have believed." As the Confederation forces helped repair the Intrepid and tended to its wounded crew, Captain Chen recorded a new log entry. "Today marks a turning point not just in human Confederation relations, but in our understanding of our place in the galaxy. We came to the stars carrying the best and worst of our nature, our aggression and our compassion, our recklessness and our courage. Today, those qualities that the Confederation once viewed as dangerous liabilities prove to be invaluable assets." She paused, looking out at the stars visible through the observation deck's viewport. "The Harbinger swarm has been driven back, but this was only the vanguard. A greater conflict looms on the horizon, but we will not face it alone. Today, humanity proved its worth not through dominance or technological superiority, but through something far more powerful, our willingness to stand with others against the darkness, whatever the cost. Today, we became citizens of the galaxy in truth, not just in aspiration." As the Intrepid limped home, escorted by an honor guard of Confederation warships, news of the battle spread across human space. The ship that had risked everything, the captain who had defied orders to do what was right. They became symbols of a new era in human history. And in the Great Council chamber on Saltyrix Prime, a new seat was prepared, one sized for human occupants, bearing the insignia of Earth alongside the ancient symbols of the Galactic Confederation.